All right, looks like we're live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm in Los Angeles, and then Tito's in the Phoenix Scottsdale market. And appreciate you guys stopping by. I know YouTube is a little slow when it comes to notifications, but it's all good. Today, I'm joined by someone that I've known for a long time. He's one of the, in my opinion, he's one of the OG tech tubers. When it comes to reviewing phones and just talk about tech in general. So I'm glad that he was able to come on. Um, I've been watching you for a while, Tito. That's wrong. I'm watching your channel rather for a while now. So and we've also been able to have private conversations about mental health, exercise, things of that nature. So I'm
Yep.
glad we were able to have this conversation. I know a lot of people know you on the channel because we share some of the same audience members. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Okay. So my name is Tito. I've been doing YouTube since 2011, so well over a decade already. Topic discussions on my channel predominantly is mobile technology. There are times where I try to dabble in different things. Like I tried talking about mental health a few times on my channel, but yeah. Besides that, I mean, I have 5 kids, dude. People like kind of trip out when I tell them that, and
You're a
also
busy man.
yeah, busy man, busy life, kids, girlfriend, bills, YouTube, and then just try to find some time for myself too. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know when we've talked, you've kind of talked about, I've even seen your social media posts. You've talked about how you've been trying to lose weight and get back in shape. And honestly, I've been trying to do the same thing, especially after the lockdowns and stuff. We didn't really have access to the gym, and I don't like saying that to myself, because it feels like an excuse. But honestly, that's the reality. What type of exercise have you been doing, or what have you been doing to kind of get back into shape?
So the gym that I go to is actually not that far away from me. It's about a block and a half away. So on the days that I do go, it's just basically like I run, to the gym to start to get my heart going. And when I get to the gym, I do anywhere from half an hour to an hour on the treadmill, and just run on the treadmill to get my heart rate up. And from that point, maybe I'll either switch it up a little bit, like I'll do like a treadmill and hit the bike. But I usually end off my days with just like strength training. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Anywhere from like 2, maybe at max 3 hours at the gym, just because life is hectic. So trying to squeeze that time in with work and a time with family, like it's hard to just juggle these things. But the gym is like where I go to kind of release a lot of my stress. So that's one big play there, at least for me. Um, I would say that with working out, one thing that I have noticed, like when I started, because I'm type 2 diabetic. So that was one of the things that really got me into gear. Like, when you, at least for me, when I heard that I was type 2 diabetic, I cried. To be honest with you, I cried in the hospital because I was just like, I've heard about it. I've seen people go through it. It weighs down on you a lot. So, thinking like, okay, you got to take better care of yourself. Um, I just got into that rhythm of, trying to bring my weight down so that way I'm less pill dependent. But also, I've noticed this too that when when going to the gym, working out, I've noticed that like my attitude seems better. Uh, the way that I guess I could say it, it feels like that I have a more uplifting spirit. Like it just things compute differently in my brain when I'm actually working my body out, and I guess you could say using up that stored energy that's supposed to be used. It's just so weird that I've noticed that compared to when I'm not doing anything. It's like when I'm not doing anything, if I'm just laying around, then like it's much more easier for depression to kick in. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
Yeah, for me, yeah, my intrusive thoughts, they come in usually when I'm at home when I'm not doing anything because I've talked to my therapist about it. He said, yeah, like whenever you're not doing anything, your mind kind of wanders off. But whenever you're occupied, like whenever you're working out or when you're at the gym, your mind is busy. It's focused on whatever it is that you're doing. So, you made a really good point there. And then whenever you're at the gym, do you feel like it kind of gives you, it kind of allows you to kind of like get away from your distractions, and you kind of like that's your temple. That's like your time to zone in. Do you think that it kind of gives you that space to process everything?
Yeah, I would say that it gives me the space to process things. I think one of the things that I've self-discovered that's super beneficial from the gym, besides just losing the weight and trying to get toned, fit, and stronger. Um, a lot of the because I always call myself like a sponge, right?
Mm.
So like when something kind of weighs heavy on me in life, it tends to just like I tend to soak it in, and without a way to expel it, it's like poison. I guess that's the best analogy I would say. It's like poison. It just spreads and starts eating away at you. So the gym has actually helped me in just more ways than just trying to lose the weight, because it also is an outlet for me to let a lot of those aggressive energies just go, let that anger out, the things that's bothering me. It just allows me to just kind of like push it out. There's my girlfriend in the chat. Hi, hun.
Nice. What's going on, Angelica? Angelica, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
She's my big fan, my big supporter. So anywhere that I'm
That's
going, she's
awesome.
gonna pop in and watch. But yeah, that's what the gym has done. Basically, it's allowed me to just like let a lot of negative energy go, but kind of like I guess you could say like take that negative energy and turn it towards a positive energy, because it is working on yourself.
Hmm.
But you're letting it go too, so it's not weighing you down. You can get through your next day without all that drama and stress and everything.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of feel the same way when I play basketball. I've been playing basketball since I was a kid, but whenever I just shoot around, it gets me, helps me kind of like zone out, and I get to process, a lot of my thoughts. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't been to the gym since the pandemic. I've kind of been working out at home. I kind of built my own gym. I got my own dumbbells and stuff. So, but I eventually want to go back to the gym because there's a lot of stuff that I can't do at home. Like for example, like leg extensions or some other equipment that it's either too expensive to have at home or it's just not worth it. But what are some of your favorite workouts when you're doing at a gym? I know before the show we talked about cardio and weightlifting. Is there anything that you kind of that you kind of when you step into the gym you kind of get drawn to at first?
So I think the thing that if I could just go straight to it and not have to like get my heart rate up and stuff like that, which
Hmm.
you should be, to get that the blood flowing, so that way the oxygen is traveling through your body much easier for all different areas. But if I was just to choose a specific point, um, since you're of Planet Fitness, so you know how they have that 30-minute workout area where
Yeah,
like
the circuit
yeah,
workouts. Yeah.
yeah, that's what me and my girlfriend do. Like that's where we really hit it for strength training and everything is in there. We'll hit that after the treadmill, but I like doing those just because like I mean she's my partner at the gym,
Hmm.
so we alternate. So in each machine that we move to, when we look at the light, when it's green, you go as much as you can. And while she's doing that, you also have like the step pads, and they have like a
Right.
chart for like things to do. And I'll be doing that. We'll just alternate. But that's the one thing that kind of like really draws me in, because it's I may sound like a crazy person, but after doing that circuit, like I feel like my body feels a lot better.
Mm.
Um, I could really tell people like when you think that working out at the gym, you're going to be like super much in pain or anything like that. Like yeah, I mean there is pain from working out when you're working out your muscles, but at the same time too, it's like a drug. You have like this overwhelming feeling in your body, like woo, that felt great, type of thing, and I crave it. So that's like where I would just go straight to it if I could, but first I got to get the blood oxygen levels up, get that going first. But that's my favorite part is the circuit.
Yeah, definitely. And then Gary here from Middleton Technology says, "I hate going to the gym." Well, thanks, Gary. Thanks for being a Debbie Downer.
It's not that
There's
bad. I don't know. Some people say they hate the gym, but I don't know if it's like what it is they hate about it. I mean, I don't know if he wants to expand more on it and tell us why he hates it. Because I mean, when you actually get in there and you do those things, I don't know. For me, just I felt started feeling better about myself. It really like brought my self confidence up. And I never knew, and that's the crazy thing about it. I guess the reason why I wanted to be on here with you talking about exercising and mental health is because when I actually started going to the gym and I started actually like caring about myself, my health, my life, my confidence has gone up. My girlfriend can attest to that because she's. I guess I could be like arrogant and cocky sometimes with her, but it's just like, but I feel
Like
good
slow
about
down,
myself.
meathead.
But and it does for her too, because I know like she has her goals where she's trying to get down to and weight loss and everything like that, and she's doing like dramatically good. And then I'm always trying to be a support, and I think that's the other thing too that I crave is the support, because I hear she's always in my ear being my support, and then I'm always trying to be hers. So yeah, I never understood why people would absolutely hate the gym. It's like one of the funnest places to just let off just everything.
Yeah, definitely. And then, yeah, Gary, tell us why you hate the gym so much. What did the gym do to you? Oh, he actually responded. He said, for me, it is a time issue. I think you have to drive to the gym 15, 30 minutes, then work out, minimum 1 hour, then back home, shower. So that was about, yeah. I mean, but again,
Yeah.
you can't see it as like a liability. It's an investment in yourself. Are there any days, Tito, where you feel like, you know what, I'm kind of tired today. I can't, I don't want to go to the gym. I'll go tomorrow. Do you ever feel like, you don't feel like going to the gym?
I've done that. Usually that happens like my girlfriend always makes fun of me about this because her job is a little bit more physical than mine for what she does. Like mine's it's basically call center work, right? There's no heavy lifting in that or anything, but there's a lot of like
You gotta
mental
lift the
stress
phone.
that
It's pretty heavy.
I get. But there's days where like we're slammed with so much work, especially recently after what we call the mass exodus, where the company let off like 2,500 people. They just laid them off, so like the caseloads is just overbearing on everybody. And there's days where I'm just like I get home, I'm mentally drained, and I'm just like thinking like I don't want to go.
Mm.
There's times that I don't go. There's times that my girlfriend will get mad at me and just be like, "You're giving up." I'm like, when she says that, I just feel so guilty. Like, oh my god. But yeah, there's days where I feel like that for sure, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you have a partner. Whether or not you said Angelica goes to the gym with you, but I know a lot of people who, they work out, but they're the person they're dating or whoever it is that that helps them accountable. Their accountable partner. They don't have that. Like for me, I basically have to force myself to go to the gym or whenever it was that I was going to the gym, and I always found it a lot easier to go to the gym whenever someone else is going with me, because
Hmm.
sometimes it feels repetitive. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do the same workouts over and over again today. But
Yeah,
it's funny because whenever you or after you finish the workout, you feel so much better. You're like, you know what, I'm glad I came today.
yeah,
So it's definitely uphill battle, because when I don't work out now, I feel especially after all the things we went through the last couple of years, I feel the stress in my body. Like I just feel like bottling up. So I have to really somehow. I actually got a punching bag from Amazon. It's a has like a little base, and then you put
yeah.
the punching bag over it so it doesn't hang from your ceiling. And even if I don't, whenever I just need to get some stress, I just punch the crap out of it, and that really helps.
I need
Um,
one of those. I definitely need
yeah,
one of those.
I'll send you a link after the show so you can grab one. It's really cool. What type of music do you listen to whenever you go to the gym, or if any?
So if it's just one of those days where like, because usually I'm with my girlfriend, and like what we do is we tend to talk. So like we have conversations while we're working out, and it could be from anything. It could be from like planning a family vacation for us and the kids, or planning like a date night just me and her, to organizing our finances. So we're kind of like navigating. It's like, and I feel like that is it's weird. That's the best time to talk because the blood's flowing to my brain. So it's like usually she handles all the finances. That's how it goes in this house. Like I go and make the money, I give it to her. She knows what's got to be paid, because me, I'm just like I'm a scramble egg brain. Like it's just I'm like whoa. So she handles it, but for me to understand what she's doing, she usually talks to me about it then as we're working out. And If not, if I listen to music, I mean, I listen to, oh man, um, I mean, there's Linkin Park. That's like one of my favorite bands. But I'm
I
also
love Linkin
into.
Park too. Rest in peace, Chester.
Oh yeah, yeah, man, I was so sad when I heard that he passed, and the reasoning why. And I guess it's funny that you brought that up. To rest in peace with Chester Bennington, because the way that the world lost him
Mhm.
is because of mental health. Like, he was
It is.
struggling with so much inner demons, and then the loss of his good friend who went the same way as he did. Um, that I know that had to weigh heavy, and I think like, it's weird. I watch a lot of YouTube videos about it, and then there's people who pointed at the signs that
Mm.
Chester was not well. So, but that's kind of like hashtag ADHD moments right there, everybody, because I just went left. um, but yeah, Lincoln Park. I listened to. I've been getting into. I guess what's his name? Tom DeLonge. He calls it space rock. His band,
Mm.
Angels and Airwaves. I kind of listen to that too, just because it gets me going in a more positive direction. Like, just the way that the melodies and the music sounds and everything like that. It sounds really good. So yeah, that's what I listen to. Mostly rock, indie rock, and things like that.
Yeah, I'm not a huge rock person, but I've always listened to Linkin Park. I know Linkin Park is technically not rock; it's considered alternative,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than for me to listen to like the Hybrid Theory album or Meteora, or just
yeah,
something something that gets the mind going. One of my favorite songs when I was on treadmill used to be a Place for My Head. I don't know if you've heard that one.
yeah. Oh yeah, I know
When it goes
everyone. There's
dun dun, like towards the end when it goes dun 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 dun, like I'm
yeah,
just like I start running faster.
yeah. There's that. There's another album from theirs. It really wasn't like a brand new album, but it was the Reanimation album, where they
Right.
just redid all their songs from Hybrid Theory. But the one that really kind of gets me going is, I'm trying to remember the name of it. I know it's towards the end of the album. Um,
Thousand Suns.
no, no,
Oh,
no, not.
a song.
Yeah, it's a song. Oh, what the heck?
Let me look it
It's
up.
it's right. It's right before the remake of Cure for the Itch. I can't even remember what it's called. Oh, By Myself.
Oh, that one's good too.
Yeah, the reanimation
Yep.
version at the end, because Chester's just wailing away at his. He's got such a weird voice too. He's got three tones in his voice, and it's so weird how he could do that. But anyways, yeah, that one gets me going.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like dun dun dun. Basically just screaming throughout the whole entire song. I love
Yeah,
it.
especially at the end. Oh yeah, then it's just so crazy,
I was
man.
watching, I know we're talking about Linkin Park, but I feel like it's still relevant to the conversation because um, I was actually talking to my therapist last week, and he said that we don't, or in the mental health world, we don't say
Hmm.
that someone committed suicide anymore,
Yeah,
because it kind of like in the brain it registers like something like a crime. So whenever you say someone committed suicide, it's kind of like, oh, they committed like a homicide or something like that. So now he said that they refer to it as they died by suicide or they passed away by suicide.
yeah,
And yeah, when I was watching one of their videos the other day, and then someone had a really good comment. I think it was one of the top comments. He said that like Chester and Linkin Park, they got us through our depression and some of our our negative thoughts, but Chester was kind of dealing with his own demons at the same time. And
yeah,
maybe I guess that's why his music or their music resonated with so many people. And yeah, it was really unfortunate. Whenever I got the news as well. And have you ever seen the music video for Heavy with Kiara?
yeah. Yeah, I seen that music video. I seen a lot of their stuff. Like, I'm heavy into their music, and even their side projects, like Chester's side project. Was it Dead by something? I forgot what his side band was called.
Dead by Noon, I think. Or let me
Something like
see.
that. I keep thinking Dead by Dead by Daylight, but that's a game. that's a game online. But yeah, he had a side band, and I know he worked on that music with his side band when Mike was working on his record label and as Fort Minor. So
It's
they
called
kind of
Dead
like
by
did.
Sunrise.
Yeah, Dead by Sunrise. There you go.
Yeah, we were close.
I don't know. Close enough. I was just thinking about the
Yeah,
game so much because my kids
yeah.
play that game with me. I'm like, yeah. But Yeah, yeah, a lot of people could resonate with their with the lyrics that they wrote, and because it's some really heavy stuff. Even the song like that, my go-to song when I'm just kind of like down and sad and everything like that, has always been One More Light. That
Hmm.
is such a heavy song when you listen to the lyrics like word by word.
It is.
And yeah, it kind of, I don't know, like for me music is like an outlet to just kind of like let my emotions run, because sometimes I'm the type of person that bottles my emotions in, and that bottle can get filled really fast.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think you bottle up those thoughts and those emotions sometimes because you might not have someone that you feel comfortable opening up to, or do you just not feel comfortable with opening yourself up regardless of whether or not you have a support system?
I think it's a mix of that, and it's a mix of just like how, like, how I was raised. My dad, he's a military man. He served 20 years in the United States Air Force, and then when he got out of the Air Force, he served 20 more years as civil service, which is just civilians contracted by the military. He worked on the hydraulic systems for the C-17s and C-5s and the KC-130s. So his whole outlet when I was growing up, it was that man, kind of hide your emotions type of thing, like
Hmm.
like, now I don't want to paint my dad in a bad light and be like he was the type of guy to be like, oh yeah, like men don't cry, type of thing. But he kind of projected that way. But that was the way he was raised from my
Right.
grandfather. So it just trickled down to my dad, from my dad to me. So for me, it will, like, I inspire to be like my dad. Like, he's my hero. So I try to emulate everything that I could remember for how he was when I was growing up. And that's just one of the things that I've taken on that, I realize now is a negative impact on me rather than a positive, is keeping those emotions inside. Like, even my girlfriend sometimes gets really ticked off with me because she won't know when I'm going through something until it's like already starting to affect everything about me. And then it's just like, you've known this, why didn't you come to me type of thing. But it's like, it's hard for me to do that. um
Spills over, right? Spills into other parts
yeah,
of your life.
yeah, it starts to spill over. So like, now she knows my signs very well. Like, when she hears certain music I'm listening to, she knows something's wrong.
Mhm.
And then that's where, she'll take me out to go get something to eat, or maybe we'll go to the park for a walk, and then she'll hit it with that, like, not direct, like, what's going on with you, but she'll wing me into the conversation, into me just opening up. And she's really good about it. So that's one thing I really love about her.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy that you have a very supportive girlfriend because I have friends that haven't really been in a relationship where their partner was super supportive. As a matter of fact, they kind of added insult to the injury, so to speak. They're one of the main reasons why their mental health was struggling. So I agree with you.
Mhm.
Just having a supportive partner is super important to your mental health, especially when she encourages you to go to the gym. Do you think that do you think that that has kind of played a role into where you're at today? The fact that she's been so super supportive.
Yeah, she's been a very, very big part. She doesn't, and the thing about it is, I don't think she even knows like how big of an impact in my life that she's made. I mean, like any relationship, like, I'm not trying to paint to everybody like we have this perfect relationship, right? Every relationship has ups and downs, but when looking beyond the superficial things and just to the core of the person, um, she really does bring out the best in me. And sometimes, like, I don't even see it because I'm very hard headed and I'm kind of narrow minded, and I don't see what she sees until I'm going through the cycles, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I know what it is. Um, Without her, I don't think half the things that I've done would I ever have achieved. Because one of the hardest things for myself is motivation, to motivate myself to do things. It's like, I always feel like that I was like cursed by something, because I can offer all the motivation to any one of my friends and I see them get very successful, but it's like I can't motivate myself the same way I motivate them.
Mhm.
So she does that for me.
Yeah, you know what they say, your own toughest critic, and I definitely agree with that. For me, some of my mental health struggles come from the fact that I grew up as an overweight kid, and from family members that I don't really talk to anymore to friends or my peers back then. Just a lot of teasing, a lot of bullying. You know, it used to make me feel worthless sometimes, and I feel like that has kind of affected my confidence. As I grew up into adulthood, I mean, I'm so much better at it now because I have context, I understand, but sometimes I still feel like that. It's still kind of like a voice in the back of my head, and therapy's helped a lot with that. Do you think do you think that in your case, or my case too, I guess, social media has played a role into where you're kind of at mentally today?
Yeah, social media has played such a huge role in just not only just like a an emotional state, um, but also a logical state when you kind of look at like how people interact today. And I've said this a lot on my channel because like I said, I talk about tech, and even though people don't really consider like social media, social networking as part of that, it kind of is because that's what we use on our smartphones. And one of the things that I've noticed in a decade of just making content on mobile technology is how people interact with each other.
Mhm.
Like, I will go on Facebook or I'll go on Twitter and I'll say something, right? I'll talk about like just, something that most people around my age have experienced, right? Rejection, like a live rejection from a girl where they would like muster the courage and grow some nuts and go up to a girl and just flat out tell the girl like, hey, I really like you, and ask her out on a date, ask her to go steady. And most people today do that over social media, right? They do it over instant messaging, text messaging, chat. So like I compared it to like, do they really experience the rejection? Because like one of the things that like I told my kids, right? Like rejection is not bad. The more you do it, the more you deal with it, the more I guess it's weird because it's like a negative, but it's a negative that's producing a positive. Because then once you feel the sting of your first rejection, other rejections aren't going to hurt that bad. It's just like, okay, you don't want to date, you're lost type of thing. Um, I feel like that we engage people's emotions by how they type words rather than actually hearing it vocally, right? Like I can text somebody and put it in all caps, and the way I'm trying to say it is like, "Hey, we're on for lunch tomorrow at work." In all caps, they're gonna think I'm yelling at them for it.
Right.
It's like everything today has kind of altered human interactions and and how we perceive each other. That now, because mostly everything's done on what I call the digital world, we don't read people's expressions or body language like we used to. So yeah, definitely social media has made a huge impact on people's mental stability and how they view the world.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because before social media, you were forced to ask that person out in person, and it's not just dating. Even like when you're trying to
Yeah.
get a job and you're asking for an interview, they might say like, "Oh, we don't want to hire you," or if you're trying to network with someone professionally, they might not want you in their network. So yeah, rejection sucks. And I think with some of the things that we're seeing, mental health. With the shootings going on and things like that, I think people just I think their upbringing has a lot to do with it, but also in a way they feel rejected by society, because it's
Oh
tough
yeah.
when you're growing up and you're trying to make friends and just trying to find your place in life and you feel rejected. So I think rejection itself, it's not bad, but when it keeps adding up, from multiple people, I think that's when people hit a breaking point. And
Yeah.
whenever you feel really stressed out from the internet or from social media, what is it that you do that you kind of or that helps you let off some of that steam? Like, do you go for a walk? Do you go to the gym? What do you do?
So what I do basically is I just like it's gonna sound weird, but like my kids and I like we play. So like I disconnect from the digital world because that is one thing that I'll tell people when you're so immersed in it, it will impact you in such a weird way. And actually, a friend of mine had actually confirmed my thoughts, because I have
Mhm.
talked to him about it on, on our breaks at work and stuff like that. And he's in an emotional slum right now. Like, he's super depressed. He's depressed in the fact, and how he said it to me when we had a conversation was just like, whoa, like, you kind of confirmed my thoughts here. Because he was just like, when he is wrapped up in the whole digital world, is what I call it, and he comes out of it to reality. Oh, hit the mic. Reality to him bites so hard that it just drags him down further. And I'm just like, yeah, like, I mean, social media allowed people to do so many things, right? It allowed people to connect. It allowed people to, like, say, hey, my life is important. I'm going to live stream it to everybody, and everyone's going to watch, type of thing, right? And there's things from, like, massive pressure you put on yourself to keep on this facade of an image that you've created for yourself. And then, like you were saying, about the rejection thing, there are people who, I guess, they don't construct words together eloquently enough for an attraction in a digital space where everything's done by chat. And like how it is when you go out somewhere, you can make a friend, right? That person you make a friend with, obviously your tone, they can hear the tone in your voice, you're friendly, they can see your expressions, your body language is inviting, so they kind of like feel naturally gravitated towards you, like,
Mhm.
to become a friend or an acquaintance. But like on Facebook and stuff like that, you can go on a social platform and make no friends, and you could be like the coolest person in the world with the most uplifting spirit and hyperactive and all kinds of stuff, but no one's going to really see that because everything's done on the screen.
Mhm.
And that's where I feel like that, we have these people coming out that are just so lonely. And when you are lonely, like you said earlier, when you're not doing anything, it goes to that saying, idle hands are the devil's playpen. You have nothing to do, your
Exactly.
thoughts run crazy, and you end up doing things that you wouldn't have done. But yeah, I go
Yeah.
for walks. I play with my kids. I just, puzzles, game night. Um, some people say it's old fashioned, like, oh, that's not
Mhm.
old fashioned family type stuff. Like, no, it's family stuff. And it unplugs. That's why I've switched from doing podcasts every day to just doing it on Saturdays and keep myself moderate with this and balance my life. That's what's helped.
Yeah, definitely. And whenever we try to network online, it's almost like, people don't really reject, or when it comes to online, people don't really reject us as people. They reject the way we project ourselves, like, on, like, for example, if you're a 25-year-old guy, attractive guy who makes six figures, but if all you're doing is posting, like, Pokemon and Power Ranger memes online, the girl's gonna be like, no, like, I don't want to date that guy. But it's we almost forget that, they're not rejecting us, but they're rejecting the way we present ourselves, whether it's a dating app,
Right.
whether it's Facebook, Instagram. And like you said earlier, whenever we're scrolling through a social feed, we're forgetting that, this is the best parts of someone's life. Not everyone is going to post the bad. People want to make it seem like they're living their best life, so they post, like, a lot of good stuff, like, oh, I bought a car, I got engaged, I'm having kids. And you're like, you're scrolling on your phone, where we're like, damn, my life sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
People engage their lives by that type of stuff, and it's so crazy.
Mhm.
It's just super crazy. Like, I know from experience, because I used to feel that way. Like, I used to feel like amongst everyone that I grew up with, like, I
Mhm.
was failing in life, because I would see them, and they, they would be doing that, posting stuff on Instagram, like, I just bought me a brand new car, and it's like, well, damn, I didn't buy me, haven't been able to buy me, like, three of my friends I went to high school with own houses. I don't even own a house yet, and like, I used to feel that way before, like, really bad, like, wow, what's my self worth? They're living great and I'm not. And it was where I pulled myself away from being on social media way too much. Is where I kind of started to fight and get a little bit of myself back, to understand, like, these material things don't make a person, it's the person themselves. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I mean, yeah, but like you said, you hit it, man, on that. Like, social media will drive people nuts at times. There's always that competition, and it's so invisible that no one talks about it, but it's there. It really is.
I agree. It's just triggering human nature, and then the driven dad Tony, he's in Denver. I think Tony has 5 kids, like you do, or he might have more. I don't know, I lost count. But he said we do that too. I think he was referring to like how you play like board games and family stuff with your kids. He said we do
Yeah.
that too. I got a wagon for Father's Day for the 4 and 1 year olds. So yeah, I don't have kids, so it's definitely but it's definitely important to spend time with kids.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and like if my kids are busy, because sometimes like my daughter, she's already at the point where she's hitting preteens, so she's going
Hmm.
to be 12 this September. She's already in that range where it's like it's not cool to be around dad. So my heart is breaking because I already know it's going to come to that point where she's going to be like, my dad's a dork, and I have to face it. It's part of growing up. But like if it's not being around my kids, then like one of the things that I love to do, there's a park not far from where I live. It's called Indian Steel Park, and I love to go and walk around there. And like I'm a wannabe amateur photographer, so I go and snap photos and stuff. And I'm like, hey, I can use these photos on my Instagram and my tech show later on. But just walking around and just breathing, just getting in, taking in the sights,
Hmm.
stargazing. I like to do that too. And yeah, you just gotta find like I just do the things that I enjoy doing that have no limits and no boundaries to it. That allows me to kind of just reset myself and recenter myself for life.
Yeah, definitely. And Tony says, we homeschool, so that is always cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
Tony, he does Uber and Lyft. He and his wife, they both take turns. They do Uber and Lyft, and then they also do food delivery in a Tesla. So they have a channel as well. Really cool channel.
awesome.
Um,
I'm gonna subscribe and check them out.
yeah, definitely
Sure.
very inspirational for sure. The guy, I don't know if he sleeps to be honest. But yeah, Rodney here commented saying that I have a 13-year-old girl. I can definitely relate. So yeah, seems like a lot of people can relate to you, Tio. That's awesome.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
on
It's
the
going
same
through
with the
those phases,
photography.
man. I'll be honest with everybody. And I still get sad. Like the day that my girlfriend made me realize that my oldest daughter is starting to develop, it was just like you hear a lot of people, like a lot of men talk about it. You see TV sitcom shows that kind of try to emulate it, but when you yourself actually deal with it, yeah, like everything just flooded in my head. It's like, oh God, now I got to worry about boys. I got to worry about boys that are trying to misguide my daughter to do things that
Hmm.
that she shouldn't be doing. So like, I'm hoping my direction with her is going to be beneficial because I don't want to lock her down, which I feel like is going to push her more away. But at this stage right now, where me and my daughter are at, we're in a very open conversation because I want her to feel comfortable to talk to me about things. So then that way I can be a little bit more involved in her life to know and to help her and to also let her kind of figure things out on her own without being overbearing. But I'm also afraid that being that laid back could result in bad things. So I'm trying to find some sort of balance to like protect her but not be overbearing type of thing. So yeah, that's where my headspace is at with my oldest daughter. It sucks.
Yeah, maybe some of the dads can put some advice in here in the chat. I've actually taken child psychology courses. Was it? Oh, sorry, child development courses.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they talk about was that you have to kind of be strict with your kids, but at the same time not too strict because you have to make sure that they feel comfortable enough to open up to you. So in my opinion, I guess you kind of have to be like their friend, that they're close friends. So whatever they're going through, something you can help them out.
Yeah. I feel like that's it. That's the plan. Is just knowing the limitations on things, right? Because like I said, I don't want her to feel like dad's a pushover and then something happens. And I'll be honest with everybody. The thing I'm worried about is her getting pregnant at a very young age. That is
Mhm.
my main concern. Just because, like, I mean, I was a teenage boy once, and I already know what my headspace was like and what I was trying to do. So it's hormones, it's adolescence, it's all that stuff. All
It's human biology.
it's chaotic. It's human biology. So I already know there's some guy out there that's gonna be that. He's gonna try to be in her head and tell her all the things that he needs to tell her to try to get to that point. And
Hmm.
I don't want her to. So like she's pretty open with me right now. I just hope it stays that way. So
Tony says, yeah, with all the propaganda in our kids' lives regarding sex, we have to take the lead as parents. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Marion says communication is key. It sucks nowadays where most everyone wants to text and not have the personal phone conversation on Meetup. Yeah, I agree. Do you think that the fact that we're all communicating with our phones and not meeting a person, do you think that's also had an effect on our mental health?
Yeah, yeah, it actually does. I think so. That kind of coincides with what I said earlier, right? Like it's hard to have a very genuine conversation when everything is done through chat. You can't read body language, you can't read facial expressions, you can't hear tones. So with those missing things, um,
Hmm.
it has our minds start to try and develop a new way of trying to engage with people. But then what I feel like's happening with all this texting and chatting is that, and I've said this before on social media, it feels like we're losing our humanity, our ability, like what the quintessential thing that makes us human. We're kind of losing it with the growth of technology. I mean, I don't have that with my kids, and that's just because I think that's where like the strictness comes in. My kids are not to text me simple things. If I'm gone from home, call. I mean, my 16-year-old son, I have a hard time with him because everything with him is he calls me on Instagram video chat. And I'm like, dude, you got a phone. Just dial my number. My contacts
Yeah,
in here. Just hit dad, hit call. Like you don't even have to dial a number. I mean,
right.
I showed my kids, side topic here, I showed my kids a rotary phone. And I should have snapped a photo of their first expressions when they saw it, because I was I was telling him the same thing. I'm like, he's always calling me on Instagram video chat, and I'm like, just call me on the phone. Like it's not that hard. Like you guys want
Yeah.
to see what it's like to be hard calling somebody? Check this out on a YouTube rotary phone, and it's like. I'm like, now just imagine if you misdialed and you chose the wrong number, then you got to start all over again.
Exactly.
They were looking at it like, what is that? Like, that's called a rotary phone. That's before we had touch tone phones. And then TVs, man, everything to them is like flat screen TV. No, I had this really big box.
Yep. What are they called? CRT TVs?
Yeah, try carrying that. Like I told my son, I was like, you guys have it easy today, because like he didn't want to bring his Switch out to the living room and carry the TV that he has for it. It's like, yeah, I don't want to carry it. I'm like, dude, I used to carry my Sega Genesis and then grab this big box that we call the TV, haul that thing out to the living room, find a place to plug it in. And then what sucked was plugging all that stuff in, getting ready, turning on the Sega Genesis, and then my dad's like, I'm watching football. Take that to your room. Like, unplug everything, haul it all back. Yeah.
Yeah, remember the composite cable or like the little switch that we had? You had to like change to channel 3. Remember
Yep.
that?
I remember that. Yeah, that thing was killer, man. Even like, what was it? I'll tell him because my son, he's heavy into video games. Like they love playing. I think right now he's playing Dead by Daylight with his friends, and there's like some other games he's playing. And I was like, you guys got it so made. Like you guys can just save your progress. She just looks at me. I'm like, my save progress was basically turn the TV off, but leave the Nintendo and the Sega
Yep.
on. Disconnect the controller so no one accidentally push start to unpause the game,
Hmm.
and then hope to God that my dad did not walk in the room and see it on and be like, "You're wasting power." Click. Oh,
I remember when
I,
memory cards were a big deal and they were expensive too. They're like $50 each.
oh hell yeah! When PlayStation hit and N64 hit, and you got memory cards on that, dude. Like, oh my God, my mom was a habitual gambler. Like, I'll be upfront, I have nothing to hide, right? My mom's a habitual gambler, and I remember one night on Christmas, she went to bingo, and she
Hmm.
won $5,000. It was like on the 23rd of December. I remember it so well because it was the day before Christmas Eve, and she comes home and she's like, "Come on, I'm gonna take you to get your Christmas gift." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So we go to the store, and I'm like, "I want an N64, and I want, I think the game that I got was WWF. I think it was Raw.
Hmm.
So I got that game, and then Turok,
I
and I
remember
got home.
Turok.
Yeah, Turok. Oh my God, I love that game. Got home, and my mom's like, I told her, like, don't go back. Like, you won tonight. Just let tonight be tonight. Like, don't go back. And she's like, I'm just gonna go and try one more time. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, give me 3,000. She gave me 3 grand, and I put it like in my boombox in the cassette, the cassette sleeve part. People remember
Right.
cassettes. And I had the money there, and she gambled, she lost the rest of it, and came back. And I'm like, aren't you lucky that I just kept your 3 grand? I gave it back to my mom. But yeah, video games back then compared to now, kids got it easier now. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about on my channel a couple days ago is that how like kids are growing up with basically parents can give them a tablet, and I know you cover tech on your channel, so
Hmm.
all the different apps and all the different media available on tablets nowadays. Do you think that it's going to have an effect on kids as they grow up? Because you're a parent yourself,
Yeah.
do you think that it's going to kind of like change the way they grow up and see the world?
Yeah, I honestly really do. I mean, there was a point where it was like, I thought it was cool putting like, like a phone that I wasn't using on Wi-Fi and just letting my kids get on it. And I started to see a very strong effect on how that plays out on them. So luckily, my girlfriend and I, we kind of nipped that in the bud. Like they have their phones, but there's like massive limitations to it and how they use it.
Mhm.
Um, and I can see the difference because most of the kids today look at my kids as outsiders. The things that they're drawn to, the different like what I call fads on TikTok. That's these kids today find it to be like that's something you have to be into. And because my kids don't know much about it, because I don't let them on TikTok, I don't let them on Snapchat and those types of things. They really look at my kids like my kids are just weird. But to me, my kids are kids. That's the way I was growing up. Um, the internet doesn't have such a heavy like it's not gridded out or sectioned into a way where you can really prevent somebody from accessing something. Like if you want to find something, you're gonna find
We
it
got
online.
Siova in the house. What's
Siova,
going on?
salute to you.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
you know,
Sorry, I cut
um,
you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, like there's so much stuff that you can grab, and that's just the internet. And if people know the entire boundaries of the internet, right? The internet is pretty much like an iceberg. The main parts that we see that's indexed by by these search engines and everything is above water. But then you also have what people know, or what it's called the dark web, where there's a lot more things in there, and you got to use specific things to get into it. It's not indexed the way that the regular, World Wide Web is completely to how you find things in a search. And like my 16-year-old son knows how to get there. He knows what you need, and he knows how it is to get in there. And they find fascination in those things, especially trying to, gain into certain sites. And there's just so many different walls you got to try to bypass just to get your way in to see what's in that person's domain. And it's just like, but when kids do that, they see that they naturally learn to do these things, and anything is possible. It's possible for them to find. It's like there's no taboo anymore, regardless of what we say. That's the tough part about them having access to the internet, and with tablets, laptops, smartphones. That is the realization.
Exactly, and Marianne brought up a really good point here. She said that nowadays, parents use the iPad to babysit their own kids. What a shame! And yeah, I
Yeah,
see it at restaurants. The baby is in the booster seat, and they just give them the iPad, and then they do whatever it is that they do. Or sometimes they give the kid an iPad, and they're on their phones. It's like everyone's on the screen. So yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely a shame.
That stuff does not happen in my house. And even though my kids want to get all butt hurt because they're in the middle of their Roblox, dinner time is dinner time. So
Yep.
when we have dinner, everything is put away. My phones, my girlfriend's phones, their phones, or whatever, put away because we're having family talk. And my youngest daughter loves that moment because she likes to tell us about her day. So that gives her the floor to talk. It gives my youngest son like the grounds to like show us his progress. Um, but yeah, we've made it to where there are limitations to when, and even at times like I just throw a curveball at them. Like they may be on their phone to play a game, I'll let them on, and then like 30 minutes after they started playing their game, I'll just come out there and be like, get off the phones, it's time to hang out with me. Like you guys have you don't have a choice. I'm watching Star Wars, get in here. But
Did I
they like
stutter?
they like Star Wars now too. Like they're heavy into Star Wars. They're heavy into Stranger Things. So I do a lot of things that I remember my dad did with me with
Mhm.
them. So it builds that type of memories because I think one of the things, and I don't know if you remember, I said this in the live stream before, but I really, really genuinely mean it. Like, holidays today don't feel like they how they used to when I was growing up. Like,
Ditto.
Halloween is my favorite holiday. And when I was a kid, it was the best time because it wasn't only just because of trick or treating, but it was because you had all like the attractions, right? The bell rides, the haunted houses, and like just there was just this eerie feeling at night when you were like walking down the street because you knew like the whole thing, the whole setup was for horror movies and stuff like that. So like I would be outside playing with my friends. It's like 7 o'clock at night, the sun went down. I'd start walking home and I just get this eerie feeling, and it felt good when I got home because I was like, oh wow, I was scared, but now I'm home and I'm safe. And today it's not even like that. Like, and I feel so bad for my kids because I want them to experience that aspect of
Right.
just like what Halloween was or like what Christmas was, right? Not even just about getting gifts from Santa on Christmas, but just that warm feeling you got being together where everyone just was so close. Even like on Thanksgiving, like in my house, we don't do Black Friday shopping. I don't care what is on sale. Like, we have our Thanksgiving dinner and we don't bail on each other to get to the store to stand in line for anything or do
And,
Cyber Monday.
and Tito, remember the costumes? The costumes were so good back then. Now it's like, oh, I'm dressed as an apple. It's like, yeah, go kick rocks. But no, costumes used to be so much better too. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah, and like and kids wanted to be those things. It's like, I mean, I get it, like I guess like some kids are like absolutely terrified of a werewolf, and if you have a mask that's like super realistic, then yeah, you could make a kid like
Those are
run down the
expensive.
river. Yeah, that I mean, well, back then they weren't really like back then they. I mean, and that's another thing too. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a guy who's going to start ripping on today's generation and everything like that. But it just seems like that everything is just like, oh, well, now we're just going to do it to the best of our abilities. Where it's like when you look at how products were made back then, things were just like, we can't have any issues. We don't want a lawsuit. Do it right. If you do it wrong, redo it again. Now today, everything can slip through quality and come out like half done, half baked, and it's like. I feel
We
like
got the
that's just
SMT in the house. We got the SMT in the house. Hashtag Telco Poppy. What up,
yeah,
Sneed?
yeah, Mr. Sneed himself, dude. I don't know. I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful to him because if anyone doesn't know, a lot of the stuff that I learned about the telecom industry, I've learned from him. Like the
Mhm.
prepaid market, I know how those businesses work. Phones, I know about the processor chips and all that other stuff in it. But when it really comes down to like the bandwidth, to the spectrum and how these companies buy that and stuff like that, Sneed has been an intricate role in my development of learning that. He's been a really good friend. I don't even think he really knows how much I appreciate him as a friend, but yeah, he's awesome. And I love seeing him on your live stream and just what you guys talked about. I think that's something that he's been wanting to do was also kind of do like stuff outside of tech, outside
Mhm.
of the telecom stuff, and just kind of like you know do things differently. And so it was really refreshing to see and listen to you guys and how you guys bounced off each other on your guys' live stream when he was with you the two times I saw him on your channel.
Yeah, I like the fact that we can just have this conversation whether with Sneed or with you or some of the guests that I've had, and we talk about what it is that the channel is kind of focused on, but also we kind of talk about the human side. Like for example, I had UDM on a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
He's an OG YouTuber in the sense that he's been talking about doing DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats for since 2017. So he's been doing it for a long time. But we also got on the human side because he's a parent. He has 3 kids, and he talks about spending more time with his kids and things like that. And speaking of kids, Tony said agree. I think he's agreeing with you. He says my kids 15 to 1, no social, 6 hours a week screen time. As study shows, under 5 screens limit brain growth for problem solving. That's crazy. Also, my
yeah.
kids have no safari either, so unsupervised. Yeah, those are some good rules.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Because that's one of the things. Like, I know my daughter brought it up to me once when she was doing homework. She wanted to use her phone to do her homework, and I was telling her no. And she like, I mean, she was kind of butthurt for a little bit until like I explained it to her. And like I said, like me and my daughter, we have this really good dynamic where we talk. Like it's open,
Mm,
nothing's held back. And I explained to her, I was like, look, I'm not trying to undercut other people, but I'm just being frank with everybody. If you depend solely on technology too much, you're not going to know how to compute these things when technology fails us. Right.
mm-hmm.
And so, like, in her perspective, she caught it really quickly. She was like, so I have to learn how to do this math without using Google to answer it. I'm like, yeah. And look at it in the more positive way. If you go for a job that requires you to know this skill and someone else depended on their tablet or their phone to get the answer, you're going to outshine them because you're going to know this from your head where it needs to be. And so, yeah. So, I mean, they don't cheat on their stuff. And like, I'm pretty happy because they could be doing it behind my back, but they're actually not. They don't know how to clear their browser and stuff like that. I've never showed them how to do that because I always want to see what
They'll
you
find
know.
a way, trust me.
So
Just
far,
not yet.
they haven't been interested in Google searching how to clear their browser. So
That's
we're
good.
good there.
Yep. Marion says, speaking of holidays, for example, about Christmas, it's about who brought the biggest and best presents. Some with Thanksgiving, who cooked the best meal, why the competition. Yeah, I agree. I think it just kind of defeats the whole purpose of getting together as a family. Don't you think?
Yeah, it does because like one of the things like and it was so funny because I can see just how social media technology and everything has changed. Not just the younger generation, but even those in my generation, or in our generation, it has changed their thought process. Like my daughter's teacher really tripped out that I because what I did was I bought like 5 different gingerbread house sets,
Hmm.
and we made a gingerbread house. Um, my daughter, her, like most kids would be like, oh yeah, I got a brand new iPad for Christmas, or I got a new iPhone 12. My daughter's thing to tell her class when she got back to school from Christmas break was like how proud she was of her gingerbread house. It was just so different because everyone was just naming off gifts that they got, and even the teacher was kind of taken away by that. And it's like this is
Hmm.
how much that social media and everything has really kind of hooked itself into everyone. It's now become hardwired into a lot of people, where they don't even know that they've succumbed to it. They just can't visibly see it yet until someone starts pointing out like this is where the hooks are in you. Now, what are you going to do about it? You leave them or take them out? You know, Hopefully people take them out because it's bad. It really is bad.
Tony says, I told my kids browser and text clearing means no more devices.
Yeah.
Would you go that far, Tito?
Yes, for sure I would. And that's how I'm going to know that they figured it out because when I check their phones, because like that's one thing they're not allowed to do. They're not allowed to not have my fingerprint on their devices. Much
Mhm.
less, they're not allowed for me to not know what their PIN code or passwords are. And at any time that they do it, they lose every benefit of it. And so yeah, I agree with him on that. Like if I go through their browser and it's nicely white with no data in there, then it's like, yeah, you lost this privilege.
Or they have like a couple websites that they went to like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. I remember the last point that I seen, that still better be in the history. The only time that stuff gets cleared is if like you have to clear cache, you have to clear the history, but then I do it. So then I know like, okay, this is when I did it. But the cool thing about my kids, and I think what really just like has me like kind of shocked, that I guess I'm doing an okay job, is that they don't like they do the normal stuff that kids do, as far as like deception of things. Like I didn't eat the donut. I swear I didn't. Yeah, you did. You got chocolate frosting on the side of your face, son. I know you ate the donut. But to like really be deceptive towards me, they've never tried and never felt like they had to be deceptive towards me. Like they will, like if they broke something, like they dropped one of my phones that they were, they hit the desk and it fell. My daughter, my youngest daughter, she's the type of girl that will come to me and she'll cry and she'll tell me like I dropped your phone and broke it. Like they wouldn't try to be deceiving and say like and make up some random story like a comet flew over the sky and blinded at us and we tripped and fell into the desk and it fell down. Like they won't give me that type of stuff. They'll just give it to
That's
me straight.
hilarious.
And like I'm so happy that I don't have to deal with that for now because things could change. But for now, I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, just for context, Gary from Middleton Technologies, he's a programmer. He said that my kids learned quickly that you can clear just one website from the browser or just use incognito mode. That's funny.
Yeah, my kids don't know about that yet. So
Not
there's
yet.
things not yet. So like if you've noticed, there's if you go through my YouTube videos and you notice this, I don't really emphasize on things that you could use as a tool to be deceiving. Like
Hmm.
even though I know it's there, I don't really touch base on it because I don't want kids to figure that out. So I am like when I do my tech videos, there is a middle ground and there is some barriers I won't cross. Even if someone was like, "Hey, like You could just like use a VPN to access this. I won't really tell them like VPNs can mask what you're trying to do, because I don't want anyone to use it in a negative way, right? Like with everything, there's a good and bad to it. You can use it for a good thing or a bad thing. And so I try to stay on the positive side and not really highlight what you can do with it and turn it into a negative. That's just me.
Definitely, and also if you guys are getting the value from the stream, definitely hit the thumbs up button. It'll be greatly appreciated. Tito's dropping a lot of gems on us. Whether it's tech related or his experience as a parent. But as we kind of close to wrapping up, I want to talk about you. I want to talk about I know we talked about it a little bit early on, but I kind of want to talk to you about how you've kind of benefited from exercising in terms of mental health, because
Mm-hmm.
I kind of knew that exercising had mental health benefits, but I noticed the biggest difference, ever since the lockdowns of the pandemic, is that kind of when you got more involved with the gym and you kind of start seeing a bigger difference when it comes to your mental health.
Okay, so I'm gonna drop a really big bomb right now.
Let's do it.
'Cause
Here, you
I
heard it here
really,
first.
I've only talked about this with my dad and with my family. I've never really like openly said it out to anybody who knows me as an acquaintance or through YouTube or social media or even that knows me now. But so like the pandemic had like this really weird play on me for some reason when that happened, and we were going into like basically isolating our families and indoors and not really going out much. Again, when you're trapped in with four walls around you, you start to think about a lot of things. And like one of the things that really just kind of started going in my head um, was when I was 14, I was raped by my stepdad. And like back then I would really, really, really like, try to hide that because I was ashamed. I was, afraid like people would poke fun at me and stuff like that. During that time that I self-reflected a lot. Like I had a lot of things going on. My relationship was in shambles. We were always constantly just bitter towards each other, and all these things started coming up. And I started thinking to myself, like I wanted to do something. I wanted to feel good again because all those thoughts were coming back up. And I started to realize that, even though I didn't think much about it, didn't talk about it, except for when I went to therapy when I was in my early 20s, it still played an intricate part of my personality. Like it weighed me down, and I felt like I wasn't good enough. And like a lot of these negative thoughts I was telling myself was tracing back to that traumatic moment. And I heard from a couple of friends, and then also my girlfriend was also talking about it too, because she wanted, she suffers from self-esteem issues too as well, and she wants to get fit and get healthy. When she talked about going to the gym, I was just like, I'd give it a shot. It's something to do, I could use the workout. But like I said, when I started using a lot of that anger and that negativity as a drive to like maybe hit, maybe like another set or to run additional 30 minutes more, like it felt like a lot of those things I was releasing out of me. So it was using turning a negative into a positive, I guess I would say. That sounds cliche, but it really was doing that for me. With the exercising, I've noticed that when I stop, like say like, I'm on it for like weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and then like 1 week I just decide to not go to the gym at all, and I just let every little thing kind of bother me and just kind of keep me away from it. I've noticed I'm like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm more positive when I've been working out, when I've been working my body out and burning up that excess energy, versus when I'm not doing anything. I'm more sluggish. I'm more, pessimistic. I'm more down. So I would tell anybody, like when it comes to it, a very big change that you may be looking for mentally to kind of make you feel good would be in a spot where you least expected it, which to me, it was the gym. It was working out. Like you really never know like how much just exercising can affect your personality that day. It really is a difference. And I don't want to sound like one of those infomercials that talks about it, like, hey, you want to feel good about yourself? You want to start rocking it out there your job? Well, you need to hit the gym for like an hour and a half a day. Like, I don't want to sound like that, but it really is like that. Like, I do notice a big difference from days that I do work out and days that I don't. how I carry myself and how I look, how I sound, it's noticeable. So it's a very big part. It's something that I really think that people should give it a chance. Really, if you haven't, just you don't gotta do the whole shebang, and start off small and build to king or queen of the mountain.
Yeah, first and foremost, I wanted to thank you for sharing your story. That was very powerful, and also it takes a lot of courage. Whenever you hear someone open up like that, especially if you haven't been through that experience, it's kind of hard to it's kind of you can sympathize with someone, but you also kind of take it for granted because you don't really understand how hard it is to talk about it openly like that. So
Mhm.
as someone who's kind of I can't relate to you directly, but I can relate to you in the sense that when you have trauma as a kid and your upbringing, it kind of affects your identity as an adult. Would you say that's something that you kind of struggle with in terms of like figuring out who you are, after experiencing something like that?
Yeah, it was really hard. Like I'll be honest with everybody. Like growing up wasn't in my adolescent years going through, because that's when it happened, when I was a teen, and it was hard in so many ways because like my mom, that was her husband, and I mean she was an alcoholic, so was he. So like nowadays when I think about it, I can understand, like I'm not giving an excuse for my mom for not believing me, but I can kind of understand why it was hard for her to believe me, because she wasn't in her right state of mind. But like the person that I needed and needed to protect me didn't have my back. It left me feeling, alone and just like worthless. And then for so many years I struggled, as a teenager, like self-identifying myself, um, to a degree, because it was something that I had to really try to keep under wraps, because there were things that triggered those memories to surface, and I didn't want to break emotionally in front of my friends and whatnot. I didn't want them to know, because I didn't know how they were going to perceive it and what type of judgment they were going to pass on me. You know, so for me, I created, I guess you could say, like different personalities. And through my therapist, yeah, they kind of put me in that mode of multiple personality disorder. And I always thought that was something that was like, like what? So I'm gonna have a different name for everything I'm in. And my therapist explained it to me like this: like multiple personality disorders, you have different personalities that you've created for specific things that are triggered. She's
Hmm.
like, like I've noticed that at times when you're trying to hold back what you really feel, your childlike self comes out. You kind of like, kind of act like a child. And these are different cycles you go through depending on what you're facing at the time. So it all started to make sense, really, because I was like, yeah, I kind of remember that, because there were things that I just didn't want to surface. I had to find ways to keep it under the water, drown it the best way that I could, but it always came back up. And I think, lately, because I know earlier we were talking about how music makes a play on people's, their mental thoughts and everything.
Hmm.
There's an artist that I listen to. His He goes by NF. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I have.
So like there's a lot of things that he talks about. It's just so crazy. Like I was drawn to his music because a lot of the things that he talks about with, struggling with mental health, struggling with abuse, struggling with those types of things, and his lyrics is so scary to how I felt when I was dealing with that traumatic moment and trying to suppress it and hide it. The way that he talks about, like how he, for an analogy for people to understand, he carried around a bunch of black balloons and he called them his burdens, things that you keep. They always linger. They're always with you, and like just the way that his poetry is and how he can just put that out there in such a way that it just impacted the way that I thought, like, holy crap, like that is a very good analogy. And he is right about the things that he's saying. What happened to me from my stepdad just weighed so heavy on me that I look back and I'm just like, what would I have been like if I had just faced it instead of trying to bury it? Like, what type of person would I have been? Like, what type of personality would I have had? You know, I always wonder that, but I don't wonder too much about it nowadays because I don't want it to weigh into like would I've had something better?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like what I have right now, I love. I may not be super wealthy, I may struggle from check to check or whatever, but people think I'm nuts. But I feel like that, I'm living a king. I'm living like a king. Like everything I have, I love. My kids are what I'm referring to. I can lose every bit of like material thing and I could care less. I just don't want to lose my kids. And that's all I care about nowadays. And to protect them from the things that I dealt with and look for the warning signs, the things that I try to get my mom to understand that she just turned a blind eye to. And I forgive her for it because I don't want it to weigh down on me, even though, what she's going through. I just don't want it to linger too much into my life. So I've forgiven her for it. I've forgiven that guy for it. And I just leave it into life's hands. Whatever comes back at him, he deserves it. But I'm not going to wish it because then I'm just going to be stuck in it type of thing.
Yeah, and again, thank you for sharing that. That was it definitely took a lot of bravery and a lot of courage for sure. And Tony and Marion, they both had really good comments for you. Tony said, "I admire your transparency and courage for sharing something that made you feel so vulnerable. You're a man's man, no matter what happened to you."
Appreciate it.
And Marion says, "That was a touching story. Thanks for sharing." And Tony also said, "NF is a Christian artist." I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, it was like it's pretty cool about him because like yeah, he is defined as a Christian artist because he tends to not. I mean, he brings God into his music in some form of way, but at the same time too, like he understands that like some don't look at him or won't label him as a Christian artist because of the subjects that he touches in his music. His music is can be really dark, um, but he's very honest. I know one of the songs he did he actually talked about how his mom passed and how his mom was addicted to pills. And like, I mean, it was genuine because even at the end of the song, I guess how they have like the producers and stuff inside the room with the boards trying to get the vocals and everything as he's recording. They didn't know when to turn off the beat because he ended up breaking down and crying on his song and talking to his mom in that presence. And his music's very powerful to anyone that's like, does anyone in the world understand what I'm going to? There may be a song that he has that can really resonate with you because he touches a lot of dark stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of want to end the stream on a fun note. Everyone in the chat, let me know what your favorite workout is, especially when you're going to have having, or especially after having a stressful day. Let me know where your go-to workout is. Whenever you just kind of want to get some stressful energy out, let me know in the chat. And while everyone's commenting in the chat, Tito, do you have any closing thoughts? And what's your favorite workout as well?
So I would say that's why you gotta send me that link to that heavy bag on the pillar because
I definitely will.
that would be like my favorite workout. Basically, is just to hit the bag and just release a lot of that negative energy and just put it into that fist and just hit that bag. Um, I know that will drain out a lot of energy that I have. It'll burn a lot of fat fighting a bag, but at the same time too, I mean, like you're really working yourself out in a very different way when you hit that bag, just because it's like boxing, you going 12 rounds and stuff like that. I mean, that's a lot of work. Um, Closing thoughts, I would say this. Um, so lots of people walk different roads in life. Um, I would never be at that point where I would judge, someone who dealt with something traumatically and try to scale it, right? Because there is no scale to a traumatic event in your life. It always what always matters is how the person that was dealing with that trauma, how it impacted them emotionally and mentally. So I would say that judgment would be the last thing that anyone should do. The whole thing of walk a mile in someone's shoes before you judge them, that's a very powerful statement because we never know what a person is going through. Like people can have the exact same type traumatic thing but have dealt with it differently. There's not one specific fix for everybody. So I
Mhm.
think people need to be a little bit more open minded, less judgmental. more approachable, um, and fearless. I will leave that at that as my last thought.
That was very powerful. And what's your favorite go-to workout whenever you're having a stressful day?
That punching bag, hitting it,
Punching bag, hitting as
hitting
hard as
that,
you can, right?
hit this, yeah, just throw everything into it. My
Beating
boss
the
pissed
crap
me
out
off.
of it.
If it is my boss that pissed me off, well, then that's what that bag is that
Just
day.
put a
Like,
picture of him and hit it as hard as you can.
hit it until it tears to pieces.
Yep.
That's something that a friend of mine told me what they do. That someone that pisses them off, they put a printed photo of the person on their bag and they
Yep.
hit it until it's shredded.
It's
And it's
awesome.
like, yeah, I should do that because then you're not actually like committing a crime, hurting someone,
Exactly.
but
It's
you
a good
kind of
workout
destroyed
too.
them. Yeah, you've destroyed them, but just not physically destroyed them. So it's like it works.
Definitely. And Tony, as the last comment, he said, I think he means David. David was saying in Psalms 127 that we as parents are the bow and our children are the arrows. Whenever you point a bow, the arrow will go in that direction one shot. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
accurate.
that's a very good analogy. Yeah, definitely. That's all I'm trying to do is just guide my kids to the best of what they can do, and like they, I'm proud of everything that they've done so far, and what I feel like they're going to accomplish. Like they have a good mindset on them, and I just don't want anything to corrupt that out of them. And I'm like, that's my fight in life. My fight is to keep that light they have in them lit bright and not let anyone dim it and change them to whatever society wants them to be, which is I don't want them to be robots. They're not programmable except for me. I am the developer. So I will program them to where I want them to go and let them make the choices that they make and be successful in life and whatever they do and support them 100% of the way.
I love it. And as for your favorite workouts, Neat says wind sprints on the steepest hills I can find, maybe barbell, back squat, and or deadlift. Sneak, you're doing too much, man. Show off.
But he's a Hulk, dude. I mean, like he literally in a conversation Sneed and I had, he's willing to take on a coyote here and probably a whole pack of them.
Oh, I remember
I mean,
hashtag save a bear.
yeah, save the bear. That's why I was throwing out, save the coyote because he was like, if he came here to Phoenix, he would take the coyote on. Like he's
Yep.
the Hulk. He hulks up at the gym when he used to live stream his workouts and just be like, "Have you met Sneed? Mad? Don't make him angry. You wouldn't like him when he's angry. He really is the Hulk."
I'm actually hoping to meet him next month, so we'll see how big he is.
I'm hearing he's pretty big. 'Cause I tell
We'll find
everybody
out.
I'm short. Like I'm only 5'4". So I'm a short person. A lot of people didn't know that. And they're like, when I told them I'm only 5'4", they're like, "What?" Like, yeah, I'm
Mhm.
only 5'4". I'm a short dude.
I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10", 280. And I have a pretty big frame. So when I walk, towards someone or like past someone, like I can feel like a little bit of some of them get intimidated. But I'm the nicest guy you'll ever meet. So, but yeah, Tony says basketball. Yeah, I'm with them. If I can play basketball, that's my go-to. If I can't, then the punching bag along with some like chest presses, some dumbbell curls.
Yeah.
That'll do it for me. And then Sneed says those are powerful, they're so challenging. Yeah, I'm sure. Great way to. Here we go. Baby Yoda starting a hashtag save the bears, hashtag save the coyote.
I
That's
really do.
awesome.
Actually, I would really, really want to see Snead take on a coyote, but then I'm afraid for the coyote because it won't go home. I'm pretty sure it's not going home. I ain't worried about Snead.
Yeah.
Snead got it. The coyote's who I'm afraid for.
Steve says I can't play sports angry people get hurt.
Yeah. So it's like everyone's got the warning, right? If you guys are playing basketball, Snead hits the court and he looks pissed. Like, don't even ask. I'm like, you want to
Yep.
run too? Like, no, don't do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty good when I'm mad and angry, and when I play basketball, I knock down a lot of my shots.
Uh,
Tony says we need to meet up in Phoenix. I'll be there this fall for a week or so. There you go. Just connect with Tito, and then we can all meet up somehow. Oh, speaking of connecting, Tito, where can people find you on the socials?
oh, so it's kind of weird because I'm actually kind of flaking away from a lot of the normal traditional social medias.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually on something called Minds, which I'm starting to play around with. But basically just Twitter, and it's at aloha underscore Android.
Mm-hmm.
And if you search YouTube, you'll find my channel that way too. But those are the two I'm most active on is Twitter and YouTube. And then Minds, I'm actually going to do a video next week explaining it as I'm going through it. But it seems pretty decent though right now. I can say that.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check out Tito's channel. He has a legendary tech channel. The guy's reviewed almost everything. I think so.
I try. Everything's bought out of pocket too, so that's like the best part about it. It's
That
just
makes it more legit.
yeah, people.
You're not like MKBHD where you're just getting free phones, you're getting paid off. But that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah, that
Sting
very
says the
much
Sting says the Kaido will not make its return. I'm sure.
does. I'm pretty sure too, man.
Again, Tito, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation with me. We definitely have to have another conversation. Have you on the channel again.
Oh yeah,
Appreciate everyone who stopped by. Who commented, watched this video. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys so much, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
law.